Good morning, Sasha. It's Tuesday, March the 4th. Today I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about a quiet time that I had and a little bit of a podcast also. I kind of went back. I think I may have told you this. I went back because I'm reading through 1st and 2nd Samuel because I really feel like, this is just a great sort of picture of leadership. And Tim Keller had he kind of did this series, I guess, on the gospel in certain books, and he kind of talked about the gospel in this. But one of the things that he said, I think is really true, is he sort of contrasted sort of the leadership there. So in 1 Samuel, you have Samuel, who's the last of the judges. So he is a leader, but he's basically just like Eli, the priest that trained him. Eli's sons kind of went off the rails. Samuel's sons did not do a great job either, and the people didn't want them leading them. And so God says, listen, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. But actually, God had already predicted that eventually there would be kings, and I mean, even that there would be a king through the line of David. So it wasn't like they were never going to have a king, but kind of now was the time. And so you see two different kings. You see Saul, who's first appointed, and then you see David. And Saul, as I think I may have pointed this out earlier. Saul was kind of like the choice that you and I would probably pick. Like, he was taller, probably more handsome, bigger. He said he stood ahead over everyone else. He's the guy that probably I would pick and say, hey, that guy looks like a leader. Let's follow him. Kind of Saul's big problem, and one of the reasons, the reason why he struggled and then ultimately was not, his line was not established, was because he failed to repent. Whenever he was confronted with something there, you always see a little bit of just sort of kind of some, equivocation, like, well, you didn't come. So in the first one, the first part was where Saul, actually, it's not when he doesn't kill the Amalekites. That comes later. But before then, he's already told, your line's not going to be, I'm not going to establish it as the kingdom, as the kings for all time. And it had to do with sacrificing. He was waiting for Samuel to come. Samuel was supposed to come on like the third day. The third day comes, the people are leaving. I think Saul starts operating out of fear. He's afraid, like, what's going to happen? So he does the sacrifices. Now, Saul was already a king. He had, there's a passage previously that talks about, and Saul is with the prophet. So Saul was both a prophet and a king. And then he's acting in sort of a priestly manner by giving the sacrifice. And there's only one person who was supposed to ever be all three: the king, a priest, and a prophet. And that was Jesus Christ. What you'll see with David is he is a king and a priest, but he's not a prophet. And so when Saul does this, he makes a sacrifice, and it says basically, as the smoke is clearing, Samuel shows up. And Samuel says, what have you done? And he said, well, he doesn't say, oh my gosh, you're right, I shouldn't have done this. He says, you didn't come, therefore I had to do this because the people were deserting me. So again, he's kind of saying, Samuel, it's your fault, and it's also the people's fault because they're deserting me, so it's really not my fault. And so then you see it again when he doesn't destroy the Amalekites, and Samuel shows up to him and says, Saul greets him and says, hey, I've done everything God said I was supposed to do. And he says, then what is the bleating of sheep that I hear in my ears, right? That you clearly didn't destroy everything like you were told. And then he says, the people, wanted to do this. And again, so each time Saul is kind of presented with his sin, he does not take the opportunity to repent. And then we're going to see later on how David really changes this. I mean, he feels badly, like when he cuts Saul's robe a couple of times, and he kind of confesses that. When he has the Bathsheba incident, at first he's very unrepentant. He's just kind of making things happen and trying to cover up his sin. And then when Nathan comes to him, gives him this prophecy, and Nathan says, you're that man that did this. He said, oh my gosh, what have I done? So he is actually very repentant. I think that is truly, something that marks a good leader. Someone who can recognize when they make a mistake and then can repent of that mistake, so turn away from it, maybe even apologize for the mistake, and then move forward. Okay, so anyway, so that's kind of, I'm going back through Samuel again. I'm sure you're going to hear some more lessons as well, and from it, because I just really love it. I think it's a great sort of book on leadership and sort of the different aspects of good and bad leadership. All right, have a great day. Love you. Bye.